So Eugene, again, I appreciate you joining me for this. My initial thought when I wanted to ask you about this is that, for me at least, admittedly, one of the softest political positions I've ever taken personally is the one where in this book I'm arguing that there should be a collective effort to target the $20 trillion GDP as public policy for redistribution. Mm-hmm. As opposed to the target, which is real in a sense, as opposed to targeting the mythological $1 trillion in spending power.
Right.
From your perspective, politically, your experience in activism and where you think we need to go, let's start with that. What do you think of that, just that argument?
Well, I think giving it my own spin and extrapolating what I want from it, I like that argument on the terms I'm assuming it's coming on. I mean, I think that, it speaks to the reality. Like, I think what you're saying of it being real speaks to the reality of what we're really talking about. Like, the economy is tangible. And I think we think about the economy in like the mythical sense of just I don't even know, it is a myth, right? It is sort of the religious sense, the tokens, the money, the circulation of it, not really the mobilization of real physical and mental capacities to accomplish certain goals. So I agree with you, like targeting the $20 trillion in real wealth, in my mind, just means, right, exactly. Like, we need to target the real mechanisms that mobilize physical and material elements and human talents to make things happen and make those do the things that we want. And there's probably a lot of ways we can talk about that. I mean, we could definitely talk about it from the point of view of a soft way of how do we just like redistribute the wealth more fairly, which seems, so obvious. I don't even know. I mean, it's almost shocking that it doesn't even happen. I mean, it seems so obvious and so painful for the very, very rich. It just, it's misanthropic. Or I think we can talk about it from the perspective of a more radical, revolutionary, socialist perspective, if you want, which is, what does it mean to target the whole economy and say, transform the economy for people's needs, not private profit? And I think when we're looking at pandemics, mass climate change, just among everything else that's wrong, it's looking better every day. I'll say that.
Well, I mean, one of the points that I think is being seen now with this current crisis that I've been trying to argue and do argue in this book is sort of like, and I kind of wish I had phrased it this way in the book, kind of like a reclamation of the rightful place of the consumer. At this, because so much of the myth targets particularly poor Black people to say, yes, you all are ignorant and spend ignorantly, and that's why you're poor, when in reality, the economy requires the consumption. So this idea that when we're told all the time, be more financially literate and save your money, but the more I save my money, the less I can shop where I shop, and the less that the people that work there can earn, and they're dependent on my consumption. And we're seeing that right now. Even the elite are begging for things to be, quote unquote, turned back on so people can go back to buying their products. So so my point is simply to say vaguely that if we restore the rightful place of the consumer and stop bashing that role in the economy and say you play a real role, and then say, well, because we do play a real role in consuming and not just owning, we should have more of what we produce.
I mean, the way I look at it, I think you're dead on. The way I look at it is this, right? I mean, and people talk about quote unquote fiscal responsibility. You're a father, you're a family man. Now, if you are a family unit, will you save more or less money going to Costco or going to like a local community-owned small business? No disrespect to local community-owned small businesses. So from my point of view, it's just, okay, we want working class people are trying to live as frugally as possible, do the most they can with the least amount. How do we give them democratic ownership and control over Costco and over Stop and Shop and over Home Depot and over Lowe's, rather than just say, and again, I'm not saying don't do anything for small businesses or terrible institutions or whatever, but just the real dynamics of monopoly capital. Scale creates lower cost. And so, ultimately, from my point of view, rather than just trying to chip around the edges and add 5 to 8% more Black businesses over the next 10 years, how do we give 80 to 90% of the Black community meaningful say over these massive monopoly institutions, that are basically controlling their lives because they're trying to do the most they can. So I think it's sort of an interesting thing with the Black buying power. It's like, well, if we just spent all our money amongst ourselves because, we don't know what we're doing and we're not thinking fiscally responsibly. But like, actually, if you are thinking fiscally responsibly and how to build your wealth as an individual family unit, and that's what this is about, wealth built based on individual family units, you would actually not be shopping at the approved list of Black businesses, again, because of the dynamics of monopoly capital, not because you're a disloyal Black person. So I think and again, to go back to the $20 trillion economy thing, it's I think leveling up the way we view this from sort of just a narrow perspective to like a whole economy perspective, because the quote unquote Black economy is in every way, shape, or form nestled in the broader imperialist monopoly capital. So if we don't understand where we fit, how we empower our community best in that wealth, that broader wealth scheme we're embroiled in and creating wealth for, I don't think we're going to be able to take the greatest advantage.
Right on. Eugene Puryear, thanks a lot for joining us.
That was my pleasure.